There's a kind of silence that follows betrayal. It's not the loud, slamming door kind. It's quiet, cold, like someone pressed pause on your life and walked out mid-scene. That's exactly how it felt when I saw her. I was standing near the back of the church. Well, technically the fancy estate we'd rented for the wedding, but I still called it a church out of habit. I had spent the morning bouncing between groomsmen jokes and last-minute tux adjustments. Everything had gone so smoothly that I remember thinking, maybe, just maybe, I deserve to be happy again. That thought didn't last long. My best man, Jordan, had gone off to get a pre-ceremony drink from the bartender set up near the garden. That's when I wandered toward the main guest area just to peek. Something about the anticipation was killing me. And then I saw her. Camille. Her. Sitting 3 rows back, legs crossed, hair perfectly curled like she hadn't caused a ****ing landslide through my life 6 years ago. My fiancée, Melissa, had promised me she would not be invited. Not only that, she swore she would never even speak to Camille again. After what happened, it was non-negotiable. But there she was, like a smug ghost in pastel. Camille was chatting up my Aunt Leah, grinning, sipping champagne like she hadn't ruined everything. I froze. My throat tightened so fast I couldn't swallow. It felt like every ounce of blood in my body had pooled in my fists. I turned around without thinking. I didn't even process it. I just walked, fast, through the hall toward the bridal suite. 2 of Melissa's bridesmaids were outside the room, giggling over something on a phone. They barely noticed me. I knocked hard. Melissa opened the door, already in her dress. She looked stunning. I won't lie to you. She looked like every dream I ever had of peace and love and stability. But behind that face was a decision I would never forgive. "She's here," I said. My voice was shaking, but not out of fear. Rage. "Camille is here." Melissa's smile didn't drop immediately. It flickered. She blinked a few times and said, "I know. I swear to God, that was it. I know." "What do you mean you know? You told me." "I invited her," she said quietly, closing the door behind her. "But just listen to me before." "You lied to me," I snapped. "You looked me in the face and promised." "She reached out to me months ago," she interrupted. "She wanted to make things right, and I thought, maybe if you just talked to her." "You thought?" My voice echoed down the hallway. One of the bridesmaids turned, alarmed. I lowered my tone fast. "Melissa, I told you what she did to me. To my family. To my career. You don't get to decide that she deserves a second chance." She crossed her arms. "People change, Michael. She accused me of molesting my niece, Melissa. Do you remember that part? Or did you block it out because it was inconvenient for your ****ing seating chart?" She flinched. I didn't care. She needed to flinch. Camille didn't just ruin my life. She incinerated it. After our father died, the family went into meltdown. Camille always had a flair for manipulation, but I never thought she'd weaponize our grief. But she did. She told my then-wife that she had suspicions about how I interacted with my niece, her own daughter. There was no evidence. Nothing real. But the rumor spread like poison. I lost my job at the school I taught at. My wife left me. I was investigated. Twice. And though I was cleared both times, the stigma never left. That was 6 years ago. And the woman I was about to marry thought it was a good idea to surprise me with the presence of my personal Judas? I walked away. I didn't say another word. Melissa called after me, pleading, swearing she thought it would bring healing. I ignored her. I went back to the groom's suite, closed the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. And I smiled. Not because I was okay. Because I realized something. This woman, the one I was about to marry, never truly believed me. If she did, she wouldn't have opened the door to the one person who tried to destroy me. So I made a decision. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. The wedding was off. But I wasn't just going to call it off. I was going to make sure Melissa never forgot what it cost her to betray me. The first thing I did was turn off my phone. Not airplane mode. Not do not disturb. I powered it all the way down and pulled the SIM card out. I bought a backup burner phone weeks earlier, just out of habit, not for this. But it was about to become the only way I stayed connected to the outside world. I wasn't just going to disappear. I was going to evaporate. Jordan was the only person I trusted in that moment. He and I had been through hell together, and he knew what Camille had done. He was also the only one who had pulled me back from the edge more than once when I'd been suicidal after everything collapsed. I found him by the bar and pulled him aside. "We're not doing this," I said. He raised an eyebrow. You mean the toast? I haven't written it yet. No, I cut in. The wedding. I'm not marrying her. His face didn't move for a few seconds. Just blank. Then he asked, she invited Camille, didn't she? I nodded. Jordan didn't hesitate. What's the play? God, I love that man. I explained my plan to him in short bursts, glancing around to make sure no one overheard. The guests were still milling around. The officiant hadn't even arrived yet. We had time, but not much. Here's what you need to know. The venue was this private estate Melissa had insisted on. Pricey, isolated, and classy as hell. But it also had a sprawling guest house just beyond the back gardens. Originally, it was booked for the honeymoon night. Now it was my exit route. Jordan slipped away to grab my go bag from the trunk of his car. I'd packed it weeks ago, again, just out of old trauma habit, spare IDs, cash, one credit card not tied to my main accounts, a hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap. When he came back, we snuck it into the guest house while the wedding coordinator was distracted retying ribbons on some chair covers. The plan was simple. I would wait in the guest house until the moment the ceremony was supposed to start. Let the music play. Let the guests take their seats. Let Melissa walk halfway down the aisle. Then Jordan would announce to the entire crowd that the groom had left. I wasn't going to ghost her privately. She was going to feel it. But that wasn't the end. The end would come later, when the second wave hit. But I'll get to that. For now, I want to tell you what it felt like to sit in that guest house alone, listening to faint music drifting from the ceremony lawn while wearing a hoodie instead of a tux. It felt like breathing for the first time in years. I looked out the little side window and saw them. Guests in bright dresses and sharp suits. Some people I liked. Some I tolerated. And in the middle of it all, Melissa, grinning like she'd pulled off the surprise of the century by inviting my arsonist in heels. I waited for Jordan's signal. 2 sharp knocks on the window frame. When I heard them, I grabbed my bag and walked out the back entrance, through a row of trees, and straight to the Uber I'd scheduled under a burner name. I watched the estate shrink in the distance through the rear window. Back at the venue, this is what happened, confirmed by Jordan later. He waited until Melissa reached the altar. She looked around, confused. I wasn't there. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Camille smirked. That's when Jordan stepped forward and raised his hand for silence. There will be no wedding today, he announced, loud and clear. The groom has left. He found out the bride invited someone who tried to destroy his life. And that betrayal is unforgivable. Gasps. One woman screamed. Someone dropped a wine glass. Melissa turned ghost white. And Camille? She stood up and yelled, "You're a coward, Michael." Jordan looked her dead in the eye and said, "Better a coward than a predator, huh?" And then he walked out too. Legend. I didn't go home. I drove straight to a hotel 3 towns over and checked in under the name on one of my spare IDs. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't stare into the void. I slept. 8 hours. No nightmares. No dreams. The next morning, I woke up and took the next step. Melissa had always been obsessed with social media, Pinterest boards, wedding blogs, engagement reels. She'd posted daily for the last year about manifesting your perfect day and aligning with your soulmate. So I gave her an ending worthy of that feed. I uploaded one single post to the wedding website we'd made together. A plain black screen with white text. You invited the one person I told you I'd never forgive. You thought I'd go through with it anyway. You thought wrong. There is no wedding. There is no us. Goodbye. M. By noon, half the guest list had seen it. Screenshots started spreading. I was tagged in everything, even though I wasn't on any platforms anymore. People tried calling me, texting, emailing. I didn't respond to a single one. I wasn't hiding. I was done. Or at least, that's what I thought. Until the news about Camille broke 2 days later. Because it turns out, she didn't just ruin my life. She had a whole damn portfolio of ruined lives behind her. And one of them was about to take her down publicly. 2 days after I vanished from my own wedding, I was sitting in a booth at a no-name diner, halfway through a coffee refill, when I saw Camille's face on my screen again. A friend of mine from back in the day, someone I hadn't heard from in years, sent me a link with a single sentence. Looks like karma came early. It was a local news site. The headline? Prominent family therapist Camille R. under investigation for falsifying abuse reports. My jaw locked. Apparently, Camille had built a career over the last few years as a trauma consultant. She ran seminars, gave TEDx talks, helped identify signs of abuse in family systems. And according to the article, at least 3 former clients were accusing her of fabricating abuse claims for personal gain. One woman claimed Camille convinced her to leave her husband over body language cues that were classic signs of covert control. Another said Camille told her that her brother was showing signs of deep grooming tendencies based on how he stared too long at his niece during a family dinner. Sound familiar? It should. That's exactly how she poisoned my life. Same language, same tactics, same fake concern. Only now, she wasn't just ruining family dinners. She was shattering marriages and setting fire to people's reputations. And finally, someone had the guts and evidence to fight back. The article mentioned that her license had been temporarily suspended. A formal investigation was underway. A civil suit might be coming. I leaned back in the booth and exhaled, slowly. She wasn't just toxic. She was calculated. She built an empire on other people's pain. She wore concern like a costume and cashed in on manipulation. And now, finally, the cracks were showing. The timing couldn't have been better. Melissa still hadn't found me. I hadn't responded to anyone. But I knew she had to be spiraling, humiliated, heartbroken, and clueless as to where I went. So I waited one more day. Then I made my move. I sent her one email. No subject line. Just one sentence. Still think she deserved a second chance? She responded in less than 3 minutes. Michael, please. I didn't know. I swear. I never saw the article. I was just trying to heal your family. Please, talk to me. Deal? She brought a loaded gun to his surgery and called it therapy. I didn't reply. I let her stew in it. For the first time in years, I had the upper hand. And I wasn't going to let it go just because she started crying when the truth burned her skin. But I wasn't heartless. I wanted answers. So, 3 days later, I agreed to meet at a public park, middle of the afternoon. Neutral ground. I stayed standing. She sat. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Why? I asked. That's all I said. She burst into a monologue. How Camille had reached out just to talk. How she thought maybe it was time to let go of the grudge. How she never meant for it to go this far. Bullshasters T. You knew what she did to me, I said. You knew she fabricated a story that made my own parents throw me out. You saw how I spiraled for years. You know she lied. Melissa started crying. I thought maybe she changed. No, I snapped. You thought I'd changed. You thought I'd softened. You thought I'd swallow the trauma to give you your perfect wedding. And then I dropped the bomb. I recorded everything she said to you. Her face froze. Yeah, I had Jordan mic the guest house. I had no intention of going into this blind. And when Camille pulled Melissa aside the night before the wedding, I got the whole conversation. She doesn't need to know, Camille had said in the clip. He'll forgive you eventually. And if he doesn't, then maybe this isn't the marriage for you. She twisted it, manipulated it. Even on the edge of my wedding day, I sent the file to Melissa right there on the bench. She listened to the first few seconds, then closed her eyes. I was wrong, she whispered. I'm sorry. I know, I said, but I'm still not coming back. And with that, I walked away. Melissa didn't chase me. She knew it was done. 2 weeks later, my parents reached out. We hadn't spoken in years, not since they chose Camille over me. Not since they accused me of being emotionally unstable because their golden child cried on cue. But suddenly, here they were, asking to meet, just to talk. At first, I ignored it. But curiosity got the better of me. I told them to meet me at a public cafe. No hugs. No, we missed you. Just too tired. Older people holding coffee like it was a shield. My father started. We saw the news about Camille, he said. We didn't know. Didn't know? They had watched her accuse me of manipulating my younger cousin. They had screamed at me to get out of their house before the police were called. They cut me off, said they had to protect the family. But now that she was exposed, they were rethinking it all? My mother looked like she wanted to cry. She reached across the table. Michael, if we'd known. I pulled back. I begged you to believe me, I said. And you chose her. We thought she was helping you, my father muttered. She said you were spiraling. That you'd hurt someone if we didn't step in. And you didn't even ask me, I said. You just threw me away. They sat there in silence. No excuses left. No righteous defense. I took out a flash drive and slid it across the table. That's every voicemail, every message, every fake warning she gave Melissa. Every one of them sounds like a script. My mom picked it up like it was radioactive. I don't want your apology, I said. I want you to sit with what you did. I want you to understand what it means to have your child cry for help and walk away. My father finally spoke again. We're sorry. Truly. And we want to make it right. I stood up. You can't. And I walked out. I didn't look back. A week after the family meetup, Camille finally broke her silence. She posted a long, performative statement on her social media, one of those black background, white text apology notes that influencers use when they're caught doing something awful. I've dedicated my life to helping survivors of trauma. I've made mistakes. I may have misjudged situations in the past, but everything I did was with the intent to protect. She didn't name me directly, but she didn't have to. People knew. The comments section turned fast. At first, it was her loyal followers defending her. She saved my marriage, one wrote. People always tear down strong women. But then the receipts started showing up. One of her former clients posted screenshots of texts. Another shared a voice recording. And one brave soul dropped a full video, Camille pressuring her into making a police report against her brother-in-law based on intuition. The narrative collapsed in real time. Camille deleted the post. Then she locked her account. Within 48 hours, her business website was taken down. The agency she consulted for dropped her pending review. A Reddit thread exposing her manipulations hit the front page under r/true off my chest. And best of all, the woman she'd hurt the worst, the one who lost custody of her kids after Camille made false claims, filed an official lawsuit. Civil court. Emotional distress. Professional malpractice. Defamation. It was like watching an avalanche swallow a castle made of lies. And as it all unraveled, I sat in a quiet Airbnb with my burner phone off, sipping tea, reading updates like they were justice in slow motion. Melissa sent one more email. I can't believe I let her get between us. If there's even a chance. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because I finally loved myself enough not to go back to the fire. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it became an urban legend. Apparently, people were still talking about my vanishing act. A full-blown Reddit thread popped up. Groom ghost bride at altar after secret recording exposes maid of honor. Of course, no names were mentioned. But the details? Dead on. Someone even claimed to have been a guest. The bride looked stunned. Like, frozen. And then the maid of honor started whispering in her ear while everyone sat there not knowing whether to applaud or call 911. Another wrote. He left the ring on the altar. In a box. Like a freaking movie. Never said a word. Just gone. Part of me wanted to tell them the full truth. To out Camille publicly. To give Melissa a chance to speak her piece and maybe salvage her own name. But the bigger part of me? I didn't owe anyone anything. For the first time, I was free of every chain. No more guilt. No more performance. No more family politics or gaslighting therapy sessions from hell. Just me and a horizon that finally looked clean. I started over, quietly. New city. New job. A friend from college hooked me up with a gig in a different state, nothing fancy, but enough to keep the lights on and my name out of the tabloids. I started journaling again. Something about writing it all down made it feel like closure, not just chaos. And for the first time in a long time, I could hear my own voice without wondering if someone else had planted the thought in my head. Camille lost everything. Melissa disappeared from social media. My parents stopped trying after their third ignored email. And I finally started to live. It was a Thursday morning. Cloudy, soft rain. I was in a bookstore cafe, flipping through a collection of essays on forgiveness when I felt it, that presence. That weird electric tension that runs up your spine when a ghost walks back into your life. I looked up. Melissa. She didn't see me at first. She was by the nonfiction shelves, hair a bit longer, eyes sunken. She looked smaller. Not physically, but energetically. Like she'd aged 10 years and 6 months. I could have left, but I didn't. I stood up, walked toward her. Quiet footsteps. She turned at the last second, and the air froze between us. Oh my God, she whispered. Michael. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We sat at a corner table and stared at each other for a solid minute. She was the first to speak. I don't expect anything. I think about you every day. I nodded. I figured. There was no anger in me anymore. No heat. Just this strange, bittersweet emptiness. Like remembering a home you used to live in, only to find it burned to the foundation. I was wrong, she said. And I see it now. All of it. I was scared of the fallout if I pushed back on Camille. I thought keeping the peace meant protecting our future. But there's no peace when it's built on silence, I said. She gave a sad smile. I learned that the hard way. She pulled something from her bag. A small envelope. Handwritten. Sealed. I wrote this for you months ago. I wasn't ready to send it. But maybe you'll read it now. I took it. Didn't open it. Just slid it into my jacket pocket. I'm happy you're okay, she said. I didn't deserve forgiveness. But I needed to say it. I nodded again. She didn't ask for a second chance. She didn't beg for closure. She just stood up, touched the table gently like it was a gravestone, and walked out of my life for the second time. And this time, I let her go without a single regret. That night, I opened the envelope. Melissa's handwriting trembled across the page. The ink was slightly smudged. It wasn't long, but it said everything. Michael, I wasn't trying to betray you. I thought if I kept Camille close, she'd behave. That maybe if I played peacemaker, we'd survive the day. I was wrong. I was afraid of standing alone at the altar. So I stood with her instead of you. You were right about her. And I didn't believe you, because her lies were easier to swallow than your pain. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you heal. Melissa, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just burned the letter. Not out of hate, but because I didn't need it anymore. That was the night I realized something. The worst parts of me weren't broken. They were bruised. And bruises heal. It's been a year now. I live far from where it all went down. New city. New job. New name, even. I've got a dog named Leo who sleeps with his whole body like he trusts the world again. Sometimes I wonder what people say about me. The groom who vanished. The man who canceled a wedding and walked out on his whole family. They're not wrong. But they don't know what it's like to lose your voice in your own life. To watch your truth be buried under lies and still choose not to burn the world down with it. Camille? Her license is revoked. Her practice gone. Last I heard, she's being sued by 3 former clients. Melissa? Moved out of state. Quiet exit. No updates since. Me? I'm writing again. Hiking. Living quiet. No audience. No applause. And I'm free. Because sometimes the most radical thing you can do is walk away before someone else decides you're ending.